Hey everybody, it's the ABC Huddle for February 8th, 2023. Today we're going to review the new, what's it called? Oh my gosh, I just blanked out.
Slack.
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 Today we're going to, very new, we're going to renew the new Slack tool. Anne's going to take us through that just for a quick overview so you're a little more familiar with it, getting notifications and so forth. And then I'm just going to highlight a couple of key pieces and review a couple items that we're seeing in the files as far as proofing. So hopefully that will help you as well. And you've got the power, so you can share screen if you like.
Power.
Got the power.
Okay, let's see. Where is my Zoom? That would be helpful. Where did it go? Oh my goodness. Okay. I don't see me. Where am I? Where am I? Seriously, where am I?
I see you on the screen.
Do you? Oh, okay, there's Zoom. Oh my goodness. Okay. I swear I've done this before.
All good. All good.
Here we go. So I'm going to share this and get Slack up. Share. And then can you guys see Slack?
Yeah.
Okay. So Slack is really cool. I've used it.
And can you just make that big, like, so it takes over your whole screen? Yeah, that'd be
There we
great.
go.
Thank you.
Slack is awesome. I've used it before, and it's a great way for everybody to stay connected. It's a great way to share information real time, but you can also, with different time zones, you can also hop on and see whatever was talked about during the day. If you're not on at the moment. So it's a really good resource. I encourage everyone to use it and to use it every day while you're working. And probably I think the best advantage is maybe getting questions. I know I'm new and I have a million questions, and it'd be cool if I could answer real time while I'm working. And if someone else is on at the same time, they can answer those questions. And then you can also answer them, in the thread, and those answers are visible for, all posterity, if you like. So I'll go through this side first. Slack, if you have notification, it'll show up in a couple of places. It'll show highlighted here. So Paula or Letty, do one of y'all want to throw in a message? And we should see it turn a brighter color into a couple of different places. Hopefully. Did it go through? I didn't see any.
I'm adding something here.
Okay. Not working?
Oh no, I think I just hit the wrong button. See, I'm learning too. I just need to go to the channel. There we go. All right.
And then we should see that. I'll click on me. We should see one of the couple. See how it highlighted? It'll let you know that there's new information there. So this will usually light up too. I'm surprised that didn't light up. You want to have your notifications on, and this is how you'll get to that. Up here under this, the drop down, preferences, and then you'll want to have all new messages. A direct message, just to kind of clarify that. A direct message will be a private message. So if I wanted to message Letty, this is a conversation just between me and her. So nobody else would see that one. And I can just say, hi, Letty. And then she should have a notification now that says that she has a message. But for the group, those are actually called channels. And like I created this one yesterday looking for some checklist ideas. General and random, those are channels that Slack has already in there, probably won't use those. And then of course, this is the channel that Paula created, where we can just have a running, conversation about whatever it is the team wants to talk about. You can add channels if you want to add your own channel. This is, say, if you wanted to have a huddle, not a direct message, but say you had 3 or 4 people or another separate group that you wanted to have a channel with, you could create a channel and add those people to it. So this is all the people that are added to the current channel or that are a part of this whole group.
Mhm.
And then you can add them usually with just email. We can add them to the team.
Great.
So as far as messaging, it's just pretty straightforward. Just message in the box. You just want to make sure that when you're in like this one, you can see where I had asked the question. This is where I think it's real helpful to, if you're answering this question, to reply. Don't do it down here in
Can you
the
click on the,
message box. Reply to the question, and then you can see everybody's responses.
so it comes up on the right side when you click those replies? Okay.
Yeah. And then like say, Paula, if you were going to, put some information in, here's an updated training. I need everybody to read it. And then you can do a little check mark. Let's see, there's React right here.
Mhm.
So there's all kinds of really cool emojis, like emoji heaven if you like emojis. Or you could just do the check mark, letting Paula know that, hey, I read it, I understand it. They have some dancing emojis to get a little advanced. The dancing emojis are pretty cute. We use those quite a bit, but there's, your basic text
Okay.
emojis that are kind of fun.
Super. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think that's the basic
Highlights,
highlights.
huh? Okay. Okay, could you stop? If you stop share, I will go share my, oh, thank you. That was quick. Okay, so I'm going to just share my screen. So I have just reviewing this bank's city council meeting. I've got the original on the left. I actually started making some edits before I saved correctly, so it might be kind of confusing, so I apologize. But so on every file, there are some things that we need to pay attention to. And of course, roll call is always very important. And for the city of Banks, the city recorder actually gives us who's there and who's not. In this case, they had Council Greg was attending, even though is a former mayor. I probably will change this to former Councilor Greg. And I put it in blue because I don't think that needs to be in there for the record, but we're just acknowledging his presence. And then he's talked about later. And then the city attorney in this file was not, I think he was in the absent in the original. And so I just moved him up within the present. So just paying attention of roll call. In some cities, staff is not part of that roll call, but you'll hear them speak later. In this case, the city attorney was called on. So I'm like, oh, city attorney's here. So I went up and then was able to move him. So a lot of times it's those nuancy things that we're pulling to better inform our document, right? Really, as most of you know, I really cut to the chase when it comes to, I'm very direct in my type of writing style, and that's where all of our cities are. We want to just have a very direct style, so not too much visiting going on. And you'll see here, let me finish this up. Of course, you're not seeing the original here, but I ended up going, Mayor Jones is a great mayor. She's very friendly, very positive. And we're just going to start this meeting with, and we don't need to, they're starting the meeting. We already know that. So I just go, she noted that former city councilor Mark Gregg was present to review his council meeting assignments or his council assignments to help council determine its committee reassignments. I think that's how it went in the final. So just getting right to the point. The freshness and all that stuff is fine to delete. We don't really need the commentary. We just need what's relevant. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, I did get rid of that because I didn't think it was relevant.
And then this is one of those cases, and a lot of times we will see this part of the year as councils are turning over. We just come off the elections. They're going to go and they're going to reassign all of these liaison committee assignments that they have. City councils in general will go attend county meetings or state meetings or other boards within their city, and then they report back to council. So that's when they talk about committee assignments or being a councilor liaison, this is what they're talking about, and that's what they're doing in the city of Banks. We want to call out different speakers. So in the original, Mayor Jones was speaking, and oh, excuse me, there's up there. Mayor Jones was speaking, and we kind of talked about how I summarized her, but then the sentence in the original, I'm just highlighting it here on the left, talked about, this internal audit and the city manager performance review subcommittees were missing one person, but that wasn't stated by the mayor. And in this case, it was the city recorder, and I put it as she confirmed that the committees highlighted in yellow did not have liaison assignments, because that was a question by the mayor. She just says, oh, so are these people in yellow? They're missing people. Those are the ones we have to talk about. That's what the audio says, right? So, and then she added, Lanter is the one that said internal audit, and she talks about those subcommittees anyway. And then, yes, we always reference if they're looking at something, a page number or something's referenced, we want to make sure that we put that in the minutes. And for the most part, the period is generally included after the sentence, not after the slide number or after the reference. And the reason that is because most of the time, in this case, most of the time they don't state that. That's something that we add for, if you've ever done a PowerPoint for ABC, they're always talking about the PowerPoint, but they don't reference this is slide number 10. Usually this is a rendering of the front facade on Main Street. And then we have to go in and say slide 3. And that's why we don't put a period after that. This was a long discussion. You can see you went from 7 minutes to 46 minutes. And this is the beauty about community assignments. We just say following discussion, because they're all talking about their dates and who has this date and who can make this meeting in this month, and on, and it goes on forever. We just want the meat. Okay, after they discussed it, these were the changes. This was the additions. This is what happened. And that's what's there. Okay. The other thing I wanted to bring out, still quite a few pronouns like they. We try not to use the word. If we can define it and interpret what that is, we want to put that in the minutes for clarity. A lot of times, cities, counties, entities themselves, even boards and commissions will be referenced as a they, when in fact it should be an it. So council noted its goal session would be Saturday the 5th, if that makes sense.
It wouldn't be there. I probably would use there.
Usually, if we're referring to a group of counselors, we would say they or they. But if we're
council,
referring to the council, it would be it. It would be it. Okay. Banks, both of they have their city attorney and especially their city manager have a very challenging transcription. They're very challenged speaking style to transcribe. Becker tends to go around the place. She gets I take it she's more nervous as far as public speaking. And so she'll just say things and then it's like, I literally, and you can see my chicken scratches down here. She's talking about this funding from Washington County for transit. And so my chicken scratches were in order. And the resulting, my final was in the gray highlight, and I can, let's see, let's pull that up so you guys can see it. Okay, so this was the original. I'll just highlight it over here in gray so you can see how that looked at. Oh no, that's public report. Sorry. Oh, there we go. Okay. So I want to just note the things in yellow and in orange. So orange is more of our training points. Yes, she's a challenging speaker, and it can be challenging to know what rabbit trail she's trying to wrap up and go to the next one. But the original was was a little more vague than what we needed. The original put in this little comment. Oh, excuse me. There we go. So in the original, it said she, noted her report was in the packet and provided the following updates and responses to questions from council. She really only updated on one topic, and this was this Washington County funding regarding transit. Generally, if there were several things she updated on, we would have more than one bullet point. So that would be okay to take it to that bulleted format when she's got a number of different topics, but this was just one. And then second of all, the responses to questions were more clarifying, like trying to think of an example. And they were a little visiting in without this. This is a very laid back informal board. They kind of visit chit chat throughout, which can be challenging also. But there were no questions which required her to give a lengthy response or a big clarification. So I chose to just completely delete this lead in for the bullets because for both of those reasons, there weren't a series of updates and there were not a series of questions. So generally for banks, it's more of a paragraph format. And we can scroll through the final at the end if you want, just remind me. And then you'll notice at the end, she addressed clarifying questions from counsel. There wasn't anything pressing. It was like, and when in doubt, type it out and put it in blue with a timestamp. That's the short answer. This particular section probably is, she's just very challenging to transcribe. So I don't know really what else to say about that. The other thing to note as far as this section, if you can read this yellow section here, the last line of that sentence is, and if there's any damage or maintenance that needs to be done to the bus stops. So as written, because of the way the subject line is, it's like, is there any damage that needs to be done to the bus stops? That's not exactly, that's literally what it says, right? So we don't want to do damage to the bus stops. The ending sentence came around with ensure the schedules were correct and attend to any damage or needed maintenance at the bus stops is kind of how I re-finessed that. So we just really, what's stated, it's very literal, right? We want to be very literal with our wording. And that's why we don't use a lot of super high level vocabulary. If someone has to look up a definition on something, we probably shouldn't be using it in the minutes. We want to write to the whole population, if that makes sense. Okay, so then we went down into the business agenda with City Attorney Kearns, another fellow who can be challenging to transcribe, very similar speech pattern as Miss Becker, goes all around. So this one was kind of an interesting one because they have an ordinance that's come before, and generally, depending on the city, but generally ordinances, require a first and second reading. So it comes before the body as like a review, they take public comment, and then they pass it on first reading. Then that item comes back to a future agenda item usually. Sometimes it's passed in the same meeting. That's another conversation. This is the case here. It's come back for second reading. So once it's got second reading, then it's officially adopted as law into the city. And in this case, they're changing some code language. In the original, it states, he noted no changes were done since the first reading, adding there was a minor change to the code section that fully empowered the city's Park and Recreation and Tree Board. So reading that, literally, it's like there's no changes, but there's a minor change. What? My mind's exploding. So, and he stated it very much like that read. However, the key here on the right, you'll note the orange, is he noted there were no changes were made since the first reading. And then I stopped the sentence and he explained, because he said, this has a few minor changes. So the key word that we hear is this. So this is referring to the ordinance. So that's how I changed it up. He explained the ordinance regarded a few minor changes to the code to fully empower, et cetera, et cetera. There was also a reference, he had noted that the city's now fully in charge of Greenville City Park. So that's kind of prompting these changes. So making sure that Greenville City Park is noted in there. I could not tell from the audio if the authority and the scope were for all city parks. Banks is small, we have 3 actually. Or if it was just for them to have future planning with Greenville. So I put that in blue for staff. Again, you see my chicken scratches. if you guys don't remember, I use those as like I'm hearing stuff that's not in the written word or in the language currently. So maybe I need to add something, and that's kind of how my brain works. And then in the motion, it's important. Again, very laid back group. Transcriptionists did a great job here because generally for banks, we basically just kind of cut and paste. They'll just say, so moved, second, taking a vote. That's it. But for the record, we need the full motion in there. We need to make sure that it's recorded properly. And so what are they approving? It's banks, it's easy. You can just pretty much cut and paste the agenda item. You can see it here is what the grayed out is down below. But the key thing that Edison said was move to approve second reading. Second, that's how it went about, right? So the key words there are second reading. So when you see an agenda item, in this case, where they say second reading and final adoption, he's referencing, attorney references the first reading, then that's kind of a cue that you're going to be needing that second reading language in your motion. I'm just going to take a couple of more items here and then I'll open it to questions. We've had discussions about the nomination, and I apologize, I have not copied and pasted anything into Trello to give you guys a reference. So hopefully this training will kind of suffice for that when we're electing officers on any board, planning commission, library board, city council in this case. There's always nominations first, and we need those on the record. So Mayor Jones nominated Edison for council president. That's pretty much what she said. And then there were no other nominations. This material was omitted in the original, but it's important because how did we get there? If we just have the motion, well, why should some people might not like Edison? Why is he a president? We didn't see that he was nominated and no one else was put up for the task. So we're making the record clear. Also, I'm just going to grab the final here really quick. So the final, one thing with sampling, with the samples, it's important to reference what the samples look like. For the City of Banks, they have all of their material is aligned. You can see it here. I'm kind of moving things around on the left side now. This is the final that's displayed on the left. And their margins of content always align with their agenda items until you get to a motion. And you'll see that here. We've got all the reports, everything's aligned. Consent agenda, motions are against the left, hard against the left margin. All discussion and everything is aligned again with the agenda item and so forth until we get down to roundtable discussion. Then everything goes against the right. This is a delete. Aha, see? I'm human. I did not delete that part. And so think when you're transcribing or proofing, make sure that you're pulling that sample up and so that everything is aligned according to the city's wishes. And it's easy enough to do. Okay, excuse me. There's some different changes through here, but I was just going to focus on the round table. Let me just cross-reference. Excuse me just a second. Okay. Councilor Kurt talks about this hike day that's happening at Stub Stewart Park. It's a state camping park basically in our area. And then, so that's her report. She just reports on this walking event. And then Councilor Sawyer's asked, what do you have any report? And she goes, I'm just happy to be here. Then the original, so it was Sawyer added, she was happy to be here. And when I was looking at the material, I almost thought, I thought she was saying she was happy to be here. Like I took it as there at the hike event, which I understand isn't totally clear, but we just want to add what she's missing. She's happy to be on the council. That's what the intent was. And sometimes that can be kind of dicey for transcriptionists, like, oh my gosh, that's not what she said. But I just encourage you all to write to the intent of the speaker. And that is blatantly helpful when it comes to speakers like Becker and City Attorney Kearns. We had there was a huge segment here on where the city manager Becker is talking about some grant information she's trying to get. There was a big discussion about some programs within our city that are improving facades. And so a lot of that was kind of reorganized and I guess rewritten. I guess that's what maybe the right word, finessed, I guess I like to say a lot of the times, so that the meaning is more clear. I found that I added quite a bit of material for her portion. She's talked about, that she was talking about hiring a coordinator for the city, for instance, a contracted coordinator. She stated how many hours a month they would be working. That needed to be added. She talked about different projects and how she would do it, which some of the material included in the original was all over the place. There was no connecting the dots. So that's one thing I find is it's okay to kind of reorganize the order of somebody's phrasing if it flows better for the reader. And that can be very subjective. I know that's very difficult to nail down, especially if you've done a few of these files with us. But anyway, that's just something to keep in mind. The original also had everything was fine, but pretty soon at the end, they started referring to the city manager as the city planner, and there is no planner at this meeting at all. So that was something to keep in mind. And then the last part is just a rearranging. So where we want to utilize what is stated. Can you guys see that? Okay, there we go. I'm just comparing the last two sentences here. So again, this is still Becker kind of all over the place, but she did state what you see on the right, the full report. And I know a lot of times the team likes to hear the last part of that, but I didn't pull it up. If we can, maybe next time I'll try to get an audio sample for the next training. But in this case, what was missing was that the full report would be emailed to council. So it was more than just on the city website. They were sending that directly to council to have the material. And then it said the full report would be able to put on the website. Well, the full report on what? I hearkened it back to, it must have been a full report on the meeting presentations, because it wasn't identified what the report was on. It implies that we're still talking about the same subject in the previous sentence. So I moved on the Broadway, that the report was on this Broadway, a broadband survey, excuse me. Then we clarified that it was emailed to council and posted on the site for the community. So that was a lot in a very little time. Open it to questions if you guys have any comments or things that you've seen, ideas that might help support the team as they're working through some of these changes and some of these types of meetings and some of these speakers that can be difficult to nail down.
I don't know. I think you covered it pretty well.
Yeah, I think so.
I can't think of anything to add.
So I just cut because I'm thinking about the checklist too, right? So every file will have roll call and a place for nominations, right?
No.
Okay, only if they have nominations, but roll call happens on every single meeting.
Yeah, and I don't know that needs to be on our checklist. Maybe because that is true, but that's over every meeting. I would think for the checklist, maybe the best thing to say about roll call is as you're going through the meeting, be sure to, pay attention to staff or people that are identified, and then make sure they are placed in roll call. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Great. Well, all of you are on the recording. Thank you for being here as well. And if you have any questions, as always, please reach out and send us something for email. Even if you can't attend the live trainings, I take those questions and I try to incorporate them into our weekly trainings. So you'll have those at the ready. Very excited. We are working on this checklist, or Anne actually is working on the checklist that we've talked about over the last couple of trainings, just to give not just newer transcriptionists, but everybody just we're going to have one for newer transcriptionist on the team. We'll have one that is just even for our seasoned veterans here at ABC, that they'll be able to just kind of look like, okay, did I get all these things done? So your input is vital to that. Please submit anything that you do in your normal day-to-day, when you go to, before you send a file, or maybe when you're getting ready to prepare a file, before you start transcribing, how you put your agenda together, or, you know, do you type within the agenda and copy save? I mean, there's a lot of different shortcuts that we can learn from each other so that we're all working faster, which means we're more profitable. And that's why we're here, right? So thank you all for attending. And again, let me know if you have any questions. I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks.